What is going on, guys? My name is Phamily Shucks and welcome back to another episode of Clash of Clans. This is another episode of our 3-star classroom, and today we're going to be looking at this base right here, which is a very popular and common internet base that many have probably seen already at this point. Now, if you do see this base in Clan Wars, the people using it have probably made a few alterations to it in order so that way it's a little bit harder for you to 3-star right off the bat. Such as this base right here. This base has a few more ambiguous spots where there could be possible single giant bombs or also Tesla spots, aside from the common base where it's just the giant bombs and also the Teslas right in that second layer. But like I said, there still is the concept of having the double giant bombs in the second layer and also possible Tesla spots, but we don't know that because this was a first attack. But another thing you might notice is that this base does have split heroes, so there is the Archer Queen on the top and also the Barbarian King on the bottom. And what this did was that it made me approach this base a little bit differently from when I would do a conventional triple golem GoHo. And that is the army that I'm going to be using for this attack, is a triple golem GoHo. So what I did in order to take care of both of the heroes and also the CC was that I did a shatter from the top with my Arch Queen and also a CB from the bottom with my Barbarian King. And when I did the shatter from the top, I was able to take out the enemy Arch Queen and also the enemy clan castle, and also trip a few other traps with my two golems. And with the CB on the bottom with my Barbarian King, I was just basically able to take out the Barbarian King, and that was about it for the most part. Now, the reason I didn't do a suicide Barbarian King on the bottom was just due to the amount of DPS on the bottom. There was the cannon, the arch tower, and also the cannon, which made it a lot of heavy DPS fire for my Barbarian King, and also I kind of wanted him to stay alive in order to help with cleanup. But before we jump into all of that, let us first identify the Tesla spots and also the double giant bomb sets. So like I said, there was a few ambiguous spots, so it made it a little bit difficult to know where these spots of the giant bombs or the Teslas were, but for the most part, with my overall plan, not knowing anything, I was able to luckily or fortunately pull off my plan with having everything kind of go into place with the traps and also the Teslas. So the Teslas were placed up here, one right there, and one on the right hand side. Now for double giant bomb sets, it was pretty common right here in this spot. Pretty expected, so that's why I placed my heal spells or anticipated to place them here, and also one more set right here. Now the way I decided to first start off is that I placed a few wizards on the top in order to snipe some buildings. Now it's always great to try and snipe some buildings before you place your golems because it kind of reduces the amount of time your Archer Queen spends on the outside buildings, and also it reduces the stress of your golems when you first place them down. Because if you place them down too early and you didn't create that funnel in order to quickly move into the base, you're kind of just letting your golems sit there and soak unnecessary fire while you do really nothing to the base aside from just taking out outside buildings. So that way it's always good to try and exploit the base as much as you can and try and pick off as much buildings before you start your hybrid portion. So the key that I had here, or the cue that I had here in order to place my golems, was once this army camp was just a little bit down to health or one more hit off from being killed, that is when I decided to place my golems. So I placed my level 4 right here and my CC golem right here in order to draw the attention of these two defenses on either side. So on the right hand side, the arch tower and also the cannon, and then on the left hand side, the same identical thing would happen, the cannon and also the arch tower. And what this does is that it allows me to create a wider funnel with my extra wizards, so that way it ensures that my Arch Queen goes down the middle where I want her to go and not wander off, especially with this new AI. So I placed a few more wizards on these other buildings to create that wider funnel, and they would just go on to take out a few more buildings, and I think I placed one on the gold storage, I'm not quite sure. But once that happened, I placed my Arch Queen on the top in order to help clear out these additional buildings and also to make her way into the center. And once this elixir collector was almost dead, that is when I decided to place my jump spell. So let us use pink for the jump spell. And I placed my jump spell right here in order to access these 3 compartments. There's 1, 2, and also the 3. Now the reason I didn't have to be so aggressive with my jump spell is because the town hall right here creates a natural funnel for my golems. So that way I didn't have to access the core because I knew they wouldn't go in there anyways to target the expos, because they would just go off to the left or to the right. And the goal of this shatter was to kill the enemy Arch Queen as well as the CC and use my golems to try and trip these possible double giant bomb spots. Now, once that was down, the enemy clan castle came out. This guy had a dragon and 10 archers, so my poison spell was pretty effective on the archers, but not the dragon, so I placed my poison spell right about here. And at the same time, I placed a rage. Let us use yellow for the rage. In order to boost up my Arch Queen and take out the dragon as fast as possible, and also accelerate my golems into these compartments to try and move them fast and take out these possible spots before they die. So I place my rage spell right about here, or more out here, more like that, in order so that way she sat in it for a long time and was able to move into the base. Now, simultaneously, when this was all happening, that is when I decided to place down my CB on the bottom to take out this enemy Barbarian King. Now, the reason I decided to take out the enemy Barbarian King was because he is still a threat to my hogs because I was attacking this base with a triple golem GoHo. And if I allowed him to stay alive, he could run around the base and take out my hogs while they were taking out the other defenses, and that probably would have hindered me from getting this 3-star. So in order to take care of him, I placed my golem right here, and that drew the attention of these 3-point defenses from the cannon, the arch tower, and also the other cannon. Now, if I just did a suicide Barbarian King here, he would have died quickly in the raid, and he wouldn't have probably stayed alive to help with the cleanup. So by placing the golem here, it allowed me to soak up a lot of damage from these 3-point defenses, and also keep my Barbarian King alive as he takes out the enemy Barbarian King and also moves along to the rest of the base to help with cleanup. While all this was happening, that is when I decided to start my surgical hogging. So let us use yellow or red for the giants, and let us use blue or turquoise or cyan, whatever you want to call it, for the hogs. So while this was all happening, I placed a giant right here, and that soaked up the DPS of this cannon and also this arch tower. While this arch tower up here was still focused on the golems that were still roaming around and still alive. So while that was happening, I used a few hogs on the top and also on these point defenses. A couple right here, a couple right there, and a couple right there. Like I said, I don't really count. I kind of just did 3 to 4 on each defense, which I thought was sufficient enough to take out the defenses quickly and also move into the base fast enough so that way they don't get targeted right off the bat. Now, once that was all done, I instantly went on to the right-hand side and I placed a giant right here. Now, due to the pathing, it had only 2 choices to go. I could either place it up here and it goes there, or place it over here and it goes to this arch tower. So I decided to kind of place it in the middle right here, and it kind of just wandered to this archer tower on the bottom. Now, while that was happening, it kind of nipped the attention of this arch tower right here, but not that much. So I did suffer the part of having my hogs targeted by this cannon up here and also the arch tower down here, but that wasn't really that bad because I was still able to push through. So once that happened, I placed a few hogs right there and also a few hogs on these couple defenses right here. And of course, I had about like 2 hogs left just due to the fact that this was coming close to the end of this raid. Now, as you guys notice, I didn't really do a conventional counterclockwise or clockwise. I did a left to the right, and that is due to the fact that the heroes already severed the base in half and kind of cut the base down the middle. So I really only had to focus on the defenses on the immediate left and also on the immediate right, and together they would condense into the core and take out those expos. Now, in terms of heal spells, let us use yellow. They were pretty much focused on these 2 compartments right here, but more specifically, I wanted to cover the possible double giant bomb spots because I didn't know where they were, if they were singles or if they were doubles. So while my hogs were making their way down here, I placed my heal spell right here, and also that way it covered the wizard tower damage and also covered the possible single giant bomb spots. Now, for the next heal spell, which was mainly focused for the next pack of hogs, I want to cover this double giant bomb set right here because I obviously wanted them to not die. Now, it didn't really get into the core that much because these circles are really not drawn to scale, but they did manage to cover the double or the possible giant bomb spots and keep my hogs alive as they were working through this heavy gunfire. So that pretty much wrapped up this plan of attack. So let's get an overall view of this. And this is what it really looks like. Kind of messy, but for the most part, it was a good first attack in my opinion, and I thought it was pretty interesting because I did have to split my heroes, which is really not traditional when it comes to a triple golem GoHo or any other kind of attack. So without further ado, let us just jump right into the gameplay. So here we are with the gameplay, and as you guys can see, this is a very fast-paced attack, just under 2 minutes. Now I first started off by placing my wizards on the top in order to try and pick off some of these buildings, which turned out to be a success. And once the army camp was about to go down, I placed my golems, timed them perfectly so none of the wizards died, so that way they could continue to take out a few extra buildings to create that wider funnel. Now, once the Archqueen was making her way in, placed a jump spell and accelerated them using the rage, also to activate the clan castle. Now, once the clan castle was activated and killed, that is when I'm going to be placing my barbarian king and also the CB down at the bottom to take out the enemy barbarian king. So while this is all happening, poison spell going down, Archqueen taking out the dragon, I'm placing down my surgical hogs, and if you notice on the top left, my golem managed to take out one of the giant bomb sets, or just one of the giant bombs of the double giant bomb set, which was good for my hogs because they didn't really target them and didn't really take a lot of damage. So as of right now, a lot of shit is going on the screen, and you got the barbarian king working on the south, and also the 2 packs of hogs converging into the core from the left and also the right hand side. And by this point, it's just game over. My second heal spell was okay. It wasn't that great because it didn't really cover a lot of defenses where a majority of my hogs were going, but for the most part, they healed the pack of hogs that were targeting that little compartment, so that way they didn't get damaged so much by the giant bomb. So as of right now, it is just all cleanup from here. All the defenses are down, and mostly all of the traps are already triggered, except for one of the giant bombs on the top left, but the hogs do avoid it. So that is it for today. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit something. Thank you guys all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.